on this particular ruling that is anticipated. Let's speak now to the Public Servants Association's Assistant General Manager, Reuben Maleka, who joins us via the virtual platform. Mr. Maleka, thank you very much for your time. If this ruling goes against the unions, what will be your stance? I think let's start the conversation there.
Yeah, thank you, Tony, and good morning to the viewers at home. Obviously, that will probably be one of those, difficult moments for government itself, because we will be going back to the situation where if the upper court says that the agreement is invalid, then it automatically reinstates our demands that were taken away by that particular signature on the 8th of June in 2018. So which puts us in a position to say we reinstate the demands of 2018 before the agreement was signed, which becomes invalid. And at that time, the PSA had already had a certificate to go on strike. Our strike was, put on hold because of the resolution that came into being. So removing the resolution, you are bringing back the status quo where PSA has got a certificate to strike, and obviously we'll have to write to the PSABC to reinstate our demands. And from there, if government does not conclude on something that will be valid, then it put us into a situation where all public servants have to go back into the streets.
If it does go in your favor as unions, Mr. Maleka, it obviously is going to put government in a tight corner, with comments, for example, that are already ongoing that government cannot be trusted in seeing through contractual agreements. How bad is this going to look for government?
Look, definitely at this point in time, government is in the back foot in terms of making sure that they implement that particular resolution, because we know that we cannot have a situation where government violates a resolution of that came out of collective bargaining. You'll recall only that the first leg and the second leg were implemented. Therefore, we cannot afford a situation where government willy-nilly just withdraw from the resolutions. So we are ready and prepared to see that government, if it's ruled in our favor, they must be in a position to implement that particular resolution, clause 3.3, to ensure that they put public servants in a position where they can afford. Because remember, the past 2 years, because of that particular dispute, the public servants did not receive their salaries of 2020.
Yeah, all right. And I'm imagining in my head, Mr. Maleka, that if indeed the court says that the government was wrong and you, the unions, are deserving of this final leg of the wage agreement in terms of increases, you're going to put timelines. Are there specific times that you have set out that if the court says, government, pay up, by when do you expect this to happen?
Look, that we expect immediately, meaning that the government must make sure that the salaries that will come from the 15th of March should include that particular back date to 2020, because they have not implemented in 2020. So we expect that if the ruling is in our favor, we want immediate payment as of the 15th of March going forward, with a break date to April 2020.
The immediate realities, though, Mr. Maleka, as stated by the finance minister when he tabled his budget speech last week, he stated, and that is that, to use his words, that the public sector wage is a significant risk, quote unquote, to public finances. Just to give you the numbers, in the 2021-2022 financial year, just salaries alone in the public space, it is an amount of just over 606 billion. And if he does give you this increase, or if he's forced by the courts to give you this increase, in the financial year 2024 to 2025, the estimations are that the public sector wage bill is going to go upwards of 700 billion rand. Surely that's unaffordable.
Look, then that number that we are talking about is not meant, and it does not come because public servants are highly paid. It's simply because we've got a number of public servants who are in real fact is that they are still in shortage. If you look at the number of police officers, we can agree that they're in shortage. The teachers, they're in shortage. Public health, they're in shortage. So it's not the it's not the salary levels that put that particular figure. It's the nature of the country and the service that is required. So that figure is proportionate to the number of public servants that are required, and we still require more of public servants because we cannot afford to have a state that is incapable of rendering a service. What government is not stating here is that, in fact, the biggest enemy to the fiscus is corruption and maladministration. Look at what the Auditor General always finds. Always finds that we cannot, or government cannot account over 60 billion on annual basis of whether in the public service or generally in the public sector. So if government can stop attacking the wage bill but look at the real enemy of the fiscus, which is corruption, then we can talk. Because the enemy is not the public service wage bill. The enemy is corruption and crime that is happening, and they know about it, and they're not doing anything about it. Who has actually ever paid back the money that they have stolen? If they can start recovering the money stolen, they will not have a situation of overtaking the wage bill.
Mr. Maleka, you are unions, or should I say you represent workers who work in the public service. The amount of power you have as unions, I don't need to tell you the history of this country. And so you have lots of power on your side. Why have you not used that power to say to government, cut down on the number of ministers you have? Because we have been told time and again that that space, that level of salaries is already too bloated and we do not need it. And there are also duplications in terms of the managers in the various spheres of government, whether you talk in the municipal space, provincial space, upwards to national government. Why are you not using your power as unions to make sure that government cuts the fat, the people that are not needed?
Look, obviously we were encouraged when President Ramaphosa, I think in 2019, he started to talk about cutting off many of the ministers and also cutting on the number of departments and merging some of the departments, because we thought that he's in the right path. But we're disappointed as time goes on, he continued to have unnecessary portfolios, such as deputy ministers. You ask yourself, what is the purpose of a deputy minister? Because a deputy minister, in the absence of a minister, is not necessarily going to be the acting minister. So we have been stating this fact, and we believe that come the public sector summit that we are going to host from the 28th of March throughout the public service, those are the matters that we are going to deal with, and we are going to raise sharply with government to say that we need to start talking about streamlining the public service. Because the other factor that also creates a problem is the 3 tiers of government, which have got different salary dispensation. If you go to an SOE, which is totally dependent on the public service, fiscus, you find the CEO earning 3 times more than the DG of a department. That is what those are the matters that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Why would a municipal manager of a metro earn more than a DG of a department? So all those issues require us to have a debate, and also including the deputy ministers. Why do we need deputy ministers who, in the absence of a minister, are unable to act? So we have to deal with those matters come the public sector summit that will be starting from the 20th of March, because we believe that as unions, we need to start making sure that we are not only blamed about fiscus, but we need to also issues of governance and issues of how duplicates are happening in the public sector of unnecessary number of ministers, unnecessary number of spheres of government. Those are matters that needs to be addressed.
Reuben Maleka, let's leave it there, sir. Thank you very much for your time. He is the Public Servants Association's